Hey, if you're doing research on Utah, you might have heard the name Provo, Utah pop up a couple of times. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you're looking for information on what it's like to work, eat, sleep, live, or play here in Utah, specifically in Provo. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly everything you need to know about Provo. We're going to take a look at the map, and this is going to be kind of a complimentary video to one that I've done in the past on Provo, showing you exactly what the neighborhoods look like. That's from a couple years ago, but it's still very relevant information. So you can check out that video here on the channel as well once you're finished with this one, but this is going to give you a good overview of different things you have to consider when it comes to looking at the Provo area. So with that said, we're going to jump on my screen here and take a look. So really quick, guys, right off the bat, just a quick little about page. Elevation 4,500 feet, founded in 1849, and population as of 2022 sitting at about 113,000 people. Now it's going to be a little bit higher than that, and of course you have all the surrounding suburbs and cities that is going to push that number even higher. Utah County, of which Provo is the I guess kind of the main part of that, actually sits at about 600,000 people. So it's much larger than that, population 113,000. Now let's jump over to the map here. As we're waiting for that to load, guys, if you're thinking about making a move here to Utah, or you already live in the area and you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, please reach out to me. Call, text, or email me anytime. My information is here on the screen. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to chat about the type of home and lifestyle that you're looking for. I've had over 1,000 people reach out to me from videos just like this, and I can't wait to hear from you as well. So with that said, let's take a look at Provo. We've got Provo right here. We're going to leave this outline so you can kind of get a sense of what's going on here. If you're not familiar, I'll just zoom out just a little bit to kind of show you exactly where Provo sits. So you've got downtown Salt Lake. Everything that's here in this mountain range, you can kind of see there's mountains on the east side, and then it kind of comes down across the south side, and you've got the Great Salt Lake up here to the northwest. All of this is considered Salt Lake County, and everything down here is going to be considered Utah County. So Utah County basically stretches everywhere from Lehi here on the northern end, Eagle Mountain out here to the east, to the western end. You've got Provo, and then these other cities here along the eastern end, and then it goes all the way down here to about Payson, Santaquin area. So that's all of Utah County. You can see that Utah Lake actually takes up a large portion of this area. Now, talking about Utah Lake, it's actually not a lake that most people are going to really utilize. Unfortunately, it's very shallow. It's only about 10 to 15 deep in most spots, and so it does have algae problems. Unfortunately, we get algae blooms here with the Utah Lake, and so it's just kind of not really the cleanest lake to go and enjoy. The thing is, we have so many reservoirs and lakes up here to the east that a lot of people will go up this direction. You've got Strawberry right here, and then you've got Jordanelle and Deer Creek right here. You've got what is this one? Jordanelle's right here, Deer Creek is the southern one, and then you've got a whole bunch more up here to the north. So there's a ton of reservoirs where people can go fishing, boating, things like that. So Utah Lake doesn't get a whole lot of activity. You can actually see how green it is in here in this photo. It's actually a really good representation. It is still a beautiful lake to look at, but just not one that you want to really actually go boating or swimming in generally. So taking a look at this, we're going to narrow down on Provo and the general area here, but we're also going to talk about some different things along the way. We're going to talk about what the culture is like, what the surrounding areas are like, what the job market is like, and of course what housing prices and schools are like here in the area. So again, like I mentioned, starting high level, everything here is considered Utah County. Looking at the northern end of Utah County, you've got Lehi, Highland, Alpine. This is generally where the better schools are going to be. This is part of Alpine School District, which is actually one of the highest. In fact, it might actually be number one in the metro area. So everything here in northern Utah, the Wasatch Front is what we call it. And then you have the Wasatch Back. This is the Wasatch Mountain Range. And so this is kind of the front side of it, if you will. Everything here, Alpine School District is actually considered number one in the metro area. So that's going to be more up here to the north. However, the schools down here, Linden, Orem, Provo, Springville, Mapleton, Spanish Fork, all of the schools are actually pretty good. So if you're looking at schools and that's important to you, you're going to be good pretty much across the board. Taking a look at this, we're going to kind of just work our way down here and show you a little bit more about the geography of this kind of general area. Looking at this, you do have Brigham Young University, which does control a large portion of the Provo area. You can see that kind of takes up this area right here. And because of that, it does have a very high Mormon population. In fact, Provo, the city, is currently at about 80 to 85% LDS. So it is extremely high. Now, other cities in the surrounding area are not going to be nearly as high. For instance, you have Orem just here to the north, which is probably only about 60-65%, and then it quickly drops down to about 50, maybe 40% as you get into some of these other areas. A lot of people who reach out to me who are thinking about making a move here do potentially consider Provo as a potential option, but a lot of people are actually settling a little bit further north here into Lehigh, American Fork. You're closer to the airport, Salt Lake Airport anyway, that is. You're also closer to just the main tech hub, and access and entertainment is a little bit better in my opinion. So looking again here at Provo, you've got Brigham Young, which takes up a large portion of it. And then you also have, the other thing I want to point out is that you do have Provo Municipal Airport. This is an airport that's actually expanding quite rapidly, and I think is going to see a lot of growth over the coming years as it gets harder and harder just because of traffic for people to get to Salt Lake Airport. I think Provo is going to be something that continues to expand. They just announced new flights leaving out of Provo, and I think that's going to continue to happen. So that's actually a pretty good benefit for anybody who's living in this general area, is there should be an additional exit point for being able to get flights out of town. So taking a look at that, the other thing I want to mention is you do have I-15, which comes right here down the middle. So you've got I-15, which if we go up here to Orem, this actually gives you a better representation of it. You can see that the interstate is actually pretty far west, closer to the Utah Lake, right? And so that gives you a sense that most of the development is actually here further to the east. This is State Street that runs down here, this yellow road right here. And this comes all the way down into Provo itself, and then I-15 right here. So generally, if you're going into Provo, whether you're coming from the north or from the south, you're going to be coming here on I-15 and then jumping off and then heading east to get into this area right here. That does mean that getting around can be a little bit difficult. It's mostly just small side streets for most of this area, with the exception of like the main feeder streets, right? But it's a lot of small side streets here in this area, and something that's worth considering. Now, you do have a couple of really good golf clubs here. You've got Timpanogos Golf Club. You also have links at Sleepy Ridge right here, which is actually right on the lake, which is actually pretty cool. So those are two things to mention. You do have a couple of LDS temples. You've got the Orem, Utah Temple, and then like I already mentioned, you do have BYU, and you also have Utah Valley University, which is right here, actually just east of I-15. This is actually technically Orem, but it's still a very important part of the overall culture. So you actually have two universities right next to each other, Utah Valley University and Brigham Young University. So it does have a much younger demographic here in this area. That's not to say that it's not going to be a fit for somebody who's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or older. It just isn't going to be something that's a little bit different, right? You're going to have a very large young demographic in that area. You're going to have a lot of college age kids, as well as people in their 20s and 30s with families who went to school at those schools and then just never ended up leaving that particular area. So something to kind of consider there if you're looking at this particular spot. The other thing I want to mention is that you actually do have, you can see this little, I guess you'd call it like a little thumb here that comes up to the northern end. And this actually takes you into Provo Canyon. So you've got Provo Canyon right here, which ironically is actually more east of Orem. So it should be called Orem Canyon, but it's called Provo Canyon. And that's actually going to take you up here to Jordanelle and to Deer Creek. These are the two reservoirs that are right here, as well as into Heber City. So you've got Heber City right here. And this, this is, it's a little hard to see on the map here, but this is pretty wild elevation climb going up here to Deer Creek, and then you kind of have to loop around, and then this takes you right into Heber City. So if you're looking for access to the mountains, it is extremely easy to get up into the mountains. You can be there even if you live on the west side of Provo. Let's say you live out here, you could be in Provo Canyon within 20 minutes in most cases, maybe even less, maybe 15. So it's very, very easy to get around. The other thing I want to mention is that there's a ton of growth happening here to the south end. If you're considering looking at this area, you might also want to consider looking further south. Here in Spanish Fork, you can see there's a lot of industrial and commercial development right here in this area, and there's a ton of farmland out here to the west. Most of the land here by Utah Lake is really mostly used for farmland. You can see that up and down this area, there's a lot of farmland because there's water, right? So that makes sense. Also, generally because of that water, the water table is high enough that, building houses there has not been the most desirable thing until recently. You can see here on the northern end of Utah Lake that there are a ton of housing developments going in. You've got all of this right here. This is technically Saratoga Springs, but over here in Lehigh, you've got North Lake Park, yeah, you've got this community right here that is literally right on the beach, or at least very close, right? As close as you can get and still remain, fairly safe with your housing. So there are developments that are popping up like that. Vineyard is another very popular city that's kind of popped up in the last couple of years, really. I mean, frankly, this is going to be an area, Vineyard, that's really popped up in just the last like 5 or 10 years as a spot that people want to live. I think the main thing that people love about this area is it's very new. So there's a lot of new growth there. It's very, there's new housing, you get new options, which especially with the younger demographic, they really appreciate that. And you also get, number 2, very easy access to I-15. So, traditionally, if you live over here, let's say you live kind of on the eastern edge, yes, the real estate is more desirable in this area because you're closer to the mountains, but you are pretty far away from I-15, which makes travel a little bit more difficult. So something to consider there. We're covering lots of facts. I'm kind of just spitting off things off the top of my head that it's going to be relevant for you. Now, we're going to talk about housing. Before we do that, guys, just a quick reminder, if you're looking to move here or you already live in the area and you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, please reach out, call, text, or email me anytime. Like I said, I've had over 1,000 people reach out from videos just like this, and I cannot wait to hear from you as well about your situation and what you're looking to do and how I can help you accomplish those goals. So please reach out. My information's here on the screen. Talking about housing in this area, the cool thing about this is Provo, really kind of a lot of Utah County, especially in the central area, it's pretty narrow right here. And so generally speaking, the access is very good, but the real estate that is closer to the mountains is generally going to be more expensive. Now, that's not always the case. You can find some cheaper places further east, but for the most part, the further east you go, the more expensive it's going to get and the more mature the neighborhoods are going to be. This means that they were built much earlier than these newer neighborhoods because, of course, if you've got just all this land, generally people are going to say, let's go build up on the hillside, right? This is great. We can have access to the mountains. We also get city and lake views from this area. And so there's been a lot of development, or at least the early development was kind of here on the eastern side. Median home price for this area is typically going to be, for a single family home, probably about $500 to $550. Fluctuates, of course, month to month. It's up, it's down, depending on which homes are selling, but it's right in that range, which is pretty in line with a lot of these other areas. The one thing to note is that if you are looking in Provo, the average age of the home that you're looking at is going to be a bit older compared to, let's say like Lehigh or Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain. Of course, these are much newer areas. So we've talked about that at length in other videos. We're going to try and keep this as, focused as much as possible on Provo for this video. But overall, Provo is a very nice area. It's very clean. It's very safe, very low crime because of the large LDS population. It's a very generally conservative area, and it's very clean, very nice, very safe. Generally, people are pretty friendly. I think it's best in everybody's best interest. If you don't know anything about this area, come and visit, come see what it's like, spend 2 or 3 days here, just get a feel for the lay of the land, see if it's a fit for you. For some people, it's going to be a perfect fit. For other people, it's not going to be a fit. They're going to say, look, this is a little bit too concentrated for me. I'm going to go somewhere else. And don't worry, there are places where, you go north, you go south, it's going to be much more diverse, not only religiously, but also, let's say ethnically and just culturally. There's going to be a lot more diversity as you get outside of these areas. So that kind of wraps up this video talking about Provo. I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to give you a quick breakdown, show you the map, show you exactly what's happening. I find that for people who are not from Utah, this is actually incredibly helpful, and it gives them an idea of what the lay of the land looks like and different landmarks and things that they need to know about the area. So as I mentioned earlier, go check out the video that I did living in Provo, Utah. This is going to have a similar title to this one, but that's actually a video where I get out on the ground. I actually show you the neighborhoods, show you what they look like, show you the views, show you the homes, and show you all of that. So if you want to combine that with this video, it's going to give you a very good understanding of what Provo is all about. So thank you so much for watching. Reach out to me if I can help you in any way. And with that said, guys, we'll catch you in the next one.